What a most surprising day. This time next week, John Key, who's led the country since November 2008, and after 8 years still sits at honeymoon levels of popularity in opinion polls, will not be Prime Minister any longer. He announced this at 12:45 this afternoon. There had been no speculation, no preempting, no leaking, just a media conference, then a media release with the heading, John Key announces resignation. To me, this feels like the right time to go, he said. He talked of family. He talked of not running for a fourth term if it wasn't his sincere intention to at least complete most of it. He expressed support for Bill English as his replacement. And that was it. But could it really be it? All of it? This was a man who seemed set on a fourth term and who had stated that publicly as recently as September. What have he and wife Brona been discussing since then?
Look, in the end, what we talked a lot about this year between the two of us was I prepared to commit to a full fourth term? And if not, 3 years, then a good 2 and change. And in the end, the conclusion we drew, I think, as a married couple and arguably as a family, was in all good conscience we couldn't say that. And I just sort of felt look, the one thing, love or hate me, and there'll be a fair bit of both on both sides. I've tried to be straight and honest with people, and I just thought I'm going to get that question the whole way through 2017. I've either got to commit to being here for at least a good 2 years after the election, or I've got to mislead people. And I just didn't want my legacy to be a guy that looked down the barrel of the camera and said, I'm with you, and 6 months later left. And I just didn't think it would leave the national government on the basis we were one in that condition, in the right condition, because that's what happened between 96 and 99. Different reasons, but Bolger went, and then it all fell apart.
Yes, but Bolger was pushed.
Yeah, he was pushed, yeah.
Clark lost the election. Muldoon lost the election. It's very, very rare for, in fact, I'm struggling to think of examples of New Zealand Prime Ministers who've done this. And then New Zealand Prime Ministers who've done this at extraordinary levels of popularity. There isn't a list at all, is there? I mean, you're it.
No. Yeah, so if you look at it, they either die in office, there's never a great option if you're the Prime Minister. There's either a coup or you lose an election. So David Lange went, but arguably it was all falling apart.
That's right. Sorry, I forgot Lange, but by that stage, of course, there was a terrible schism in the Labour Party. They were spontaneously combusting, and he'd had a gutsful, hadn't he?
Yeah, he was finished with it. Yeah, look, one of the things is I always thought, if I was ever going to be able to successfully transition, it's like a company, you can only transition when you're in a position of strength. Otherwise, you're passing the new person a hospital pass. And I kind of looked at, all this stuff. I mean, obviously, I didn't know exactly where the polls would be, having made the decision at the end of September. But, our own internal polling is 50-27. Colmar Brunton was 50-28, and Roy Morgan's 49.5 and 23. I mean, basically, it doesn't mean that's what an election would have been or is going to be, but it certainly means that I'm in a position of strength to say to the next leader, I'm going to back you, I'm going to back the caucus, but you have some clear air.
So you know those numbers.
Yeah.
And you like those numbers.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, you respond to those numbers. And the fact you're quoting them at me might also be justification for you staying. In other words, you know the poll numbers, you like winning. The poll numbers tell you you've got a good chance of winning. If you had a fourth term, you have the very real possibility of passing Holyoake as the longest serving National Party Prime Minister. That stuff appeals to you. What's changed? Are you exhausted? Was Brona saying, please, I want you back? What's happened in the past wee while? I mean, even last week, you looked cross with Treasury because you didn't like their long-term projections. You looked like a man who had skin in the game. What's changed?
Yeah, but I mean, I think the point is that I'm always going to give 100% in this job every day I'm in this job. So I'm carrying on with my diary this week. I've got things of opening, debates in Parliament, stuff I'm doing. I'm never going to stop until I'm not the Prime Minister and ultimately not the MP for Helensville, because that's what people should expect of me. That's what you should expect of any Prime Minister. So I've worked really hard this year, and even though I thought there was a chance I'd go. Look, I suppose in the end, the thing I had to weigh up to a certain degree was how important was it that it was a record for the sake of a record, and how important was it to balance a whole bunch of other things. And personally, I reckon I could have got there for a fourth term. Personally, I think National will get there for a fourth term, but there was just other factors really. And no, Brona didn't put enormous pressure on me, but she's certainly happy I'm going to be spending more time at home.
Is she? So there is. So you will be welcomed home with open arms, because the one thing we know. So that I'm not in any way being naughty with that question. The one thing we know about being Prime Minister is you do not see your family for the duration, right?
That's right. And the thing is that, look, it's 10 years at the top for me. I've been the leader for 10 years, and whether you're Prime Minister or leader of the opposition, it's go, go, go. And I just feel, for her, there has been a lot of times where she's on her own. And, I'm 55 now, she's 53. We just feel as though we've got a lot of great years in front of us. And there is one other thing, and like all of these things, they all sort of, they're the positives and negatives, and you write them all down on a piece of paper and you try and make a decision.
Did you do that? Did you write down the pros and cons?
Yeah, a little bit of it. But the one thing is, and this sounds, I know, awfully corny, but do you know the New Zealand public have been awesome? They have backed me. I've done stupid things and I've got things wrong, and there's been bits and pieces that haven't been perfect, but they've always backed me, and I just, very, very few prime ministers leave grateful. They've either been there's been a coup or they've been voted out and they're angry. And I am, as I said in my post-game presser, one day, hopefully a long way in the future, I'm going to die happy. I'm going to feel really comfortable about what we did as a government. I'm going to feel really grateful to my colleagues, and I'm going to feel really grateful and thankful to the New Zealand public. And they've backed me, and I just appreciate that.
There's so much to discuss, and I know we haven't got much time. No. But I think the fascinating thing about you is that you were, for a long time, you were underestimated by your opponents, weren't you? And you were cast as a hobbyist or a dilettante, right? Yep. Somebody who was just accumulating the trophy of being Prime Minister.
Yep.
At precisely the moment that your opponents get used to the fact that you're going to be there for the foreseeable future, and everyone's thinking, God, this bugger could get a fourth term, you walk away from it.
Yeah, but that shows you they were wrong in the first place. I was just collecting trophies for the sake of it. I mean, I came because I thought there was a job to do. And, you never get to the end of those things, because there'll always be homeless kids, homeless people, or poor kids, or people that need more support, or unemployed people, whatever they are.
It's interesting that you raised that. So do you have regrets about leaving those issues unsolved? Because I spoke to you, and it was, in all of our dealings, it was the most powerful and persuasive interview you've ever given me after the last election. And you said you want to change that stuff for the better. You put it on the agenda and you said, I want to deal with it. Is it a regret that you haven't dealt with it as well as you'd hoped?
Look, you would always want to do more, because you're talking about the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable need support and help. I honestly believe that we've done an awful lot in that space, and our first budget post that interview and that election was for raising benefits for the first time in 43 years. We've insulated 300,000 houses. We've made doctors free under 13s against enormous advice and pressure to get rid of working for families and things. I didn't do it. And so I just really believe that I've done a lot in that space. Now, in a way, one of the single biggest things you could do really is about reform of education to help those youngsters, because it's not just economic poverty, it's poverty of education outcomes for them that rob them of that future that you and I both have, because we've got those skills. Unfortunately, in politics, I'm not sure in any country you get to the end of it. It's a journey, not a destination. But we're in amongst the investment approach and the work we've been doing for vulnerable children, we've made a lot of gains. And whoever the Prime Minister is next, and I'm obviously going to vote for Bill English, so if it's Bill, he's been the architect of a lot of that work, and he's going to champion that. And I think people can take great confidence that in both that team and in Bill, you have someone that is really outstanding and dedicated to that.
Can we just speak to that issue? I was just watching Bill English's stand-up in Parliament, and he said if Mary, his wife, supports him, and if caucus supports him, he will have a crack at it. Now, obviously, you can't speak for Mary, but do you expect that caucus will say, yes, Bill, you're the man? Do you think that by this time next week, Bill English will have replaced you?
It's my gut instinct. I mean, you can never be 100% certain, and in the end, whoever the leader is and whoever the deputy leader is will have my 100% support. And there's so many you could choose from that have got huge ability. And
who are the others? So who else might you?
Look, you can pick anyone in the cabinet probably, and they could get there. But there's lots and lots of really talented people there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. But one of the things you do, and one of the things I've been conscious of, I mean, I think people have seen me move people out, move people in. In a way, in moving myself out, I create lots of opportunities. Someone's going to be leader. Someone's going to potentially be, if it's Bill, the new finance minister. Someone's going to be deputy prime minister. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, and that just creates opportunities for a backbench and for people hungry to give it a go. You know.
Yeah, I do. When I talk to people about the government, and I say, "What do you like about the government?" They say, "John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key." Do you? I mean, it's extraordinary, and even your opponents are now saying today, wow, this man has been a phenomenon, right? That your popularity has defied the laws of gravity. And that's a remarkable thing and an admirable thing. And I'm not in any way being snide. And I really want to put that on the record. But do you wish you'd taken more risks with that kind of unprecedented political capital? Is there anything, as your time comes to an end, you wish you'd done harder?
There are always things you can do more of. Like, I mean, I personally wish the Coombex was in an ocean sanctuary, and I've been pushing for it, and it really sort of grates me a bit that it's not, because I think our environmental credentials can be enhanced when we do that. As you know, I was a massive advocate for changing the flag because I just wanted to show the world that we have that innate confidence about our country and its place in the world, really. I mean, look, one of the things I think when you become Prime Minister, at a level you have ultimate power, but at another level you have to use that power judiciously, and you have to work with people. And as I always used to say to my colleagues, the easy bit's getting 61 votes in Parliament, the difficult bit's carrying the public. And so, yeah, of course I've been a bit of a centrist and I've been a pragmatist, and all those things they accuse me of are true. But that's one of the reasons why I think the public's had confidence with me, that they've had a sense of, broadly, the direction we're going in and what we're trying to achieve. And I've tried to communicate in pretty plain English, about that. And so I guess my main point is I reckon if I could have been more cavalier, but I'm not sure that would have lasted the test of time.
You sound buggered.
No, I'm not. I'm really not.
And I mean, well, it's December, and what is it, 100-hour week? I mean, how many hours a week do you work routinely?
Yeah, that kind of number, 100 probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. Look, it's a lot. But equally, with that comes these, remarkable opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've played golf with Barack Obama, and also, I mean, I'm just talking. That's glib of me. But you've done things you're proud of, and you go back to increasing benefits. And you're right, a Labor government didn't do that. The National government did it under you. So there are lots of things you're proud of. But I also wonder, are you sitting there now thinking, oh my God, 1 week to go? I mean, you grew up. You said to Brona on your first date at that AFP show in Christchurch, or whatever the hell it was, I want to be Prime Minister one day. And you became it, and you've got a week to go. And are you feeling like, oh, what have I done?
Well, I just got off the last radio show, and as I was putting the phone down, they said, that's the outgoing Prime Minister. So, that's the way it works, isn't it, this business? Look, you couldn't do this job for this long and have so much passion for it and not feel something. Otherwise, why the hell are you here? But it's very hard to put into words. And because I've had a year of sort of mulling it over, I'm in a better place to understand it than anyone else. But for me, I kind of came on my own terms. I gave up this big investment banking career to come. I backed myself to give it a go and get there. The timing was really lucky, and I made it. I had that amazing, generous support from the public, and it just feels right to me. And some people will think it isn't, and some people will think it is, but I got to do what I think is right for our family. And I don't know how many years I'm on the planet. My health's in fantastic condition, and I hope it's another sort of 45 or 50. But I'm going to be grateful, and I'm going to be pleased. And I'll I'm a looking forward kind of guy. I'm just going to look forward and do some other things, but always acknowledge that, for a point in time I was there, and I'm not a guy who marks time in Parliament. That's just not me.
John Key, who has 1 week left as Prime Minister.